Hello, and welcome to my best AI voice. Here we see a pictorial of my recent trip to Japan. Here I'll show some highlights of the trip and where I ended up flying into. If we look at Japan, you can see there are two major airports if you are headed to Tokyo. The airport I chose was Haneda Airport. You can see here, this is Haneda, closer to Tokyo City. However, you can choose the other airport, Narita, which is a little further but can sometimes be beneficial depending on the airline, price, and ticket availability. However, I recommend Haneda due to the facilities. Here you see we land in Haneda Airport. If you go to this airport, go straight to the airport garden in Terminal 3. It is huge and has everything you need. You will need to eat, shop, and of course, get yourself a SIM card. Whilst walking around the airport, I saw many Japanese racer cars reminiscent of movies like Fast and the Furious 3, Tokyo Drift. Here we see a 1993 Toyota Supra. Throughout the restaurant, our first meal, we decided to eat at a traditional Japanese place. However, we understood quickly ordering is generally via tablet device, machine, or other means of entering without interacting with the staff. In turn, you order from a machine, pay, and receive a ticket. The ticket is then given to the chef, who will prepare your delicious meal. Our first meal here was steak over garlic rice. Throughout the airport, we found these traditional Japanese lanterns, which was a nice touch on arrival. And vending machines. I didn't believe it when I was told Japan thrives on vending machines. They are absolutely everywhere. Not just the airport, train stations, or where public transport would be, but in all shopping centers and on the street. You can even find them in residential areas, between houses, or on street corners. You really can get anything you like from vending machines. However, they focus more on coffee and hot or cold beverages. Throughout the airport, they had this traditional Japanese bridge, which was nice to walk on. However, we arrived late, therefore, there were no festivities at the top of the bridge. Before we left, we decided to have a decent breakfast. This is a Japanese steakhouse. Although the menu in the morning was a rice soup with kimchi flavor and bits of beef. Very delicious. As we approached the train station to head into Tokyo City, I noticed a lot of signs were very comical. Apparently, due to the serious of Japanese people, they prefer to have their warning signs this way. Therefore, they pay attention. In this example, this warning sign says not to be on your phone in the train station. This was also interesting. Whilst on the train, they had many screens advertising many products. This particular one is a lotion called Transino. You can see here the transition from male to female is almost flawless. Walking around Japanese suburbs on the outskirts of the city, it seems the houses take most advantage of all the land. We didn't see many houses with front or backyards. Our first official hotel out of the airport was the Dinosaur Hotel. This is completely driven by automation. The hotel includes some animatronics from dinosaurs. Here we can see we are greeted at the front desk by this dinosaur. When you ask a question, it responds as so. In the room, we were also greeted with this AI device where you can extend your stay, ask for wake-up calls, or any information on the city of Tokyo. However, changing to English and trying to use it was a challenge. Walking around the streets, we found many Japanese parks, and here you can see this looks like a bonsai tree. However, it was full size. There were many convenience stores and three major ones, 7-Eleven, Family Mart, and Lawson. Within these, you can buy almost anything, warm, pre-made, or anything you desire. However, we decided to go to a traditional ramen house. Here you see chicken ramen. This was a very nice restaurant where the chef was incredibly friendly. You see many businessmen eating here as it is tasty and cheap. In the background, you will notice all these chickens. What the chef would like you to do is on your way out, honk the chicken if you're satisfied. I was surprised in a land of technology to see payphones. In the morning breakfast, this is actually a wiener. However, it is shaped as an octopus. Here you'll notice it is Jurassic themed. And of course, I couldn't say no to a dinosaur. This is the city of Shinjuku, central to Tokyo City. As we approach, there are many insane crosswalks where you don't know what direction to travel. However, all the lights go green at once, so you can scramble any direction you like. This building was our second hotel, Hotel Gracery. You will notice it is currently being attacked by Godzilla. The hotel itself was Godzilla themed. Here you see Godzilla with Mothzilla fighting in battle. Also, the reception, that head you saw, is also available in the hotel. The view from our room, but more importantly, across from the bar, is this huge Godzilla lifelike head. The streets of Shinjuku were very lively. There was lots of entertainment for free on the streets. However, I noticed these gothic-looking kids always hanging around near the Toho cinema, right in front of the Godzilla head. I asked around and tragically found out they are actually homeless kids. Homeless teenagers who have been kicked out of their homes for not performing well in school. Therefore, they congregate in these communities and form their own family. The streets of Shinjuku are just like the movies, very bright lit, and lots of advertising. I found this comical, as they do not care in Japanese culture of what gender you want to be, or if you have dietary requirements. You simply cannot eat there if you argue. Another meal we found here from traditional Korean cuisine. This was beef and pork Korean dish. The highlight of the trip was the Capybara Cafe. Capybara along with cats. Many, many cats. The capybara is a female and she was very friendly. However, as she is a rodent, her fur was like straw and very thick. I found this banh mi place on the street and couldn't help myself. Walking through various parks, we then went to this one. It was a nice lake, very peaceful and tranquil, with cherry blossoms hanging over the water. We even went on a swan, pedaling through the mystical lakes of Tokyo. There were many things happening in Tokyo, including performances. Each night, they seemed to have a new performance in front of the Godzilla building. But one of the best things I found in Japan is they do not care about recycling with paper. They had plastic straws everywhere, including plastic cutlery and, of course, plastic bags. I did try McDonald's because I was curious in the Samurai Mako. However, like all McDonald's, it was disgusting. Plastic bags, my favorite. These are capsule machines where you can pay money to win prizes. This particular one are noodle keychains. Throughout walking the streets, there were many places picture perfect. Although they are worn, they looked tranquil and reminded me of movies with Japan. Here was interesting. This was a public park who also had fish. These Japanese cod were huge and looked after by the community. The next highlight of our trip was the owl cafe, where they had many owls. I wondered, how did they get them into Japan? This is an eagle owl. Mr. President, they say he's in charge of all the owls in this place. This here is a Eurasian eagle owl, the second biggest eagle owl in the world. A mystic barn owl. They were everywhere. And at one point, they put 7 owls on me. I didn't know what to do because I was getting pooped on as well. Here is a crazy video of them trying to put an owl on my hand. I like the twist and dance the owl handler does. However, this was scary as fuck. And I thought its claws were going to dig into me. We then ride the bullet train to Osaka, where our first event was a maid cafe. You can see they serve meals like you're a child and never break character. It was so cringy. They gave us glow sticks to wave in the air as they sang children's songs and danced on a stage. We were also sharing some blue champagne that had silver sparkle in it. Here's a picture of me and one of the maids. I felt like a dirty old man, even though it is not sexual at all. It just all seemed wrong. This is funny. Each of the hotels have these plastic bags. In case of a fire, open the bag and place it on your head. They say it's enough air to go to the stairs. However, I thought you would possibly suffocate. Here are the streets of Osaka. They look similar to Tokyo, except for this place, the American Village. In the village, all they had were hip-hop stores and hip-hop clothes. As if this is just what America is. We even went to this diner to try a burger, which tasted nothing like an American burger. Throughout here, we went to the observation deck. This deck was nice to see Osaka. Here's a view, which was lovely. Next up was Universal Studios. Unfortunately, we were unable to get the Fast Pass or to enter Super Nintendo World due to excess sales of tickets. Therefore, we just had to walk around. However, it was nice just to walk around the theme park, then get out of there. That night, we found a hidden gem. As previously mentioned, in Japan, they are not shy to label genders. Therefore, here they recommended ladies and men's meals. I had this chicken, reminiscent of ramen. However, the chef said it is ramen fusion. It was delicious. My traveling companion, being female, had the ladies' meal, which was salty clams. I then tried the same meal from the 7-Eleven. Unfortunately, it was not the same. Here are some basic pictures from the outside. In this part, we are in Shibuya. It rained a lot. However, it was still pretty to walk around and see the sights at the Shibuya Scramble. What was interesting is the amount of different varieties of Kit Kat, including milk tea. Shibuya at night had many bars, but they are a tourist trap, so please avoid. The cherry blossoms were in full season as we arrived back in Tokyo. They look white, but apparently can turn pink. I found this walking around Shibuya. Here was the highlight of our trip. Apart from the capybara, we went to a sumo wrestling match and dinner. It was lovely, and they were friendly. They told us these were the small sumos. They were 6'3" and huge. They invited the guests to wrestle sumos. Unfortunately, I did not participate. Oh, and I saw this lady on the train. They had many K cars there. This could be my next one. It is so tiny. This is the famous Shibuya Scramble Crosswalk, famously seen in Fast and the Furious 3 Tokyo Drift. I crossed it, and it was chaos. Lastly, as our trip came to an end, we went back to the airport to stay at the Villa Hotel and Resort. I decided it was time to treat ourselves with a steak dinner, including A5 Wagyu. It was delicious. However, some of the meal, if I go back, was less than desirable. Although upside down, I ate heart and small intestines. I won't be doing that again. Kimchi soup. It was delicious. Here at the airport, they set up many stages and shrines. I found this interesting. You can buy a single egg. And we had these for free. And as we get to the end of the holiday, I say, bye-bye, Japan. Thank you. Thank you for having us. And thank you for your cultural delights.